Warm up your hands. Take them apart and put them together for Gautam Goenka. It's nice meeting you, and if I get in that, I don't know if I'll come out, but all right, let's do this. You can stay the whole night. How are you? I'm good. It's nice to be here. Pleasure's mine. Who are you? I've heard quite a bit.
Okay. About yourself?
No, about you,
Okay.
about the awesome walkers. I've had friends who are here. I've had the privilege to see a few live videos. And when we connected, I was like, yes, this is something I'd love to come and do.
Yeah.
So really happy to be here.
Pleasure's mine. So I don't do this where I introduce the guest or anything. Never.
Sure.
It never happens. So from your own, in your own words, give us a context.
Okay. So my name is Gautam. I'm a theatre practitioner by passion. And so I'm also the co-founder of The Junction, which is a performing arts space out in Al Avenue. And I run one of the largest community theatre groups out here in Dubai. And what that really means is we take people who are working professionals or students or lovers of theatre, and we get them to do theatre in the evenings in their free time. So they come together, they put a production together, and then we put it up, and it's community theatre.
Tell us about your journey from the beginning, from where it all started, or not about Junction, about you as a person.
Sure.
Where
So
you're from?
I'm originally from India. So I come from a typical Marwadi business family. For those who don't know India, the Marwadis are a business community of India. They're known to do a lot of business. And my dad moved over here in '88, and so along with him, we moved here, my sister and I. And so I've been in the city since '88. This is home. Did my schooling at the Modern High School at that time, as it was known. Now as it's known, the GEMS Modern Academy. And I was an average to above average student with more interest in everything else except for academics.
Yeah.
So clearly the rule of expertise, as you talked about, did not apply to me.
Mark Twain. Totally
Yes.
applied, right?
Mark Twain totally applied. So I was interested in everything except for studies, and which wasn't much of a problem because I always thought my path was predetermined to join the family business,
Okay.
whatever they were doing. And
What
then
was it?
they were into trading, they were into tourism, they were into a lot of things, half of which I didn't even know. And I said, okay, I'll just join and tell them to do whatever they want me to do. So I got to the end of high school, and we had this whole time where they went, what should you do in university? And I never thought about it. And so I said, okay, there's this, at that time it was new to the Indian system, there's a career counselor. So, okay, let's go to this career counselor. So I was a career counselor, and I went to her, and she made me do all these tests and aptitude tests. Came back and said, you should become a filmmaker. Now, coming from a typical Marwadi business family house, I looked at the lady and I said, my dad, if he finds this out, will first shoot me, and then he will come looking for you. So suggest me something else. And she said, well, you could get into marketing and sales, but okay, if you can't do filmmaking, at least do theatre.
Wow.
And I went, I have no idea what this is. I don't know what it does. She said, look, let me talk to your mom. So it's okay. So she talked to my mom, and she said, look, you should let him do theatre. He's got a real aptitude for theatre. And
How did they find that out? From
I have no idea. They did all these tests, 2-3 pages long tests. Somewhere in there it came out that I have a tendency to act up.
Okay.
And so she convinced my mom. She said, look.
So actor pro, that is acting then, but it is not acting, this is filmmaking.
So it was, she said, get into filmmaking, get into the film world, and you could become an actor or a director, but you should get into the creative side of things.
Okay.
Is what she was trying to say. And so my mom went, okay, let's not let this die. And she went out looking, she talked in her group, and somebody said, hey, there are auditions going on for this play by Shakespeare called Othello. This gentleman's holding auditions at his house. This was back in the year 2001.
But when she said do filmmaking, did a bell go in your head like, yeah, this is something that is exciting?
No, the first reaction was fear.
Yeah.
Yes, I will get shot at home. I did something wrong with these tests. I marked the wrong things. So the first reaction was fear. But when she said theatre, I said, okay, hey, this sounds interesting. Let's see what people do. And somebody's done a 2-day aptitude test. There must be something to this. And plus, like I said, I was inclined for anything but academics. So I said, okay, let's do this. Yeah. And so I went to this gentleman's house. His name was Shankar. And he was holding auditions for William Shakespeare's Othello. I hadn't read what Othello was. I hadn't read Othello. I didn't know what Othello was about. The internet was just about picking up those days. I used my dial-up connection to find out a little bit about Othello, and I went into the auditions and I read. And surprise, surprise, a couple of days later I got a call saying, we've got a role for you. I joined the team, and I was the youngest actor on their team, 17 years old. And the funny thing was I used to have a fairly large mustache at that time. Mm-hmm. And
compared to now.
Compared to now, absolutely compared to now. And most of the team members thought I was older than what I really was. So I remember the first reading, it was something like this in his house, and we were sitting and everybody introduced themselves. It came around to me and I went, so what do you do? I said, I'm in school. And he said, oh, you teach? I said, no, I'm in school. And that was a moment, I think, even for the director to go, oh, wait, hold on. I'm not sure what I thought he was. But hey, it was fun. So the journey went on for 6 months, and I was doing my high school final exams, which again in the Indian system is a lot of pressure. And I was learning my lines and practicing for the play on the side. So my exams got over in March, and the play went up in April. So I was attending rehearsals, clearly not inclined towards academics. I was attending rehearsals, I was going to practices, I was shadowing the director, learning how he directs. And it was a beautiful experience. It was.
Your parents didn't have a problem?
My parents did not. I think they had given up hope by then.
Okay.
My dad was of the view he's going to come into the family business. So
better he fails so that he can come better.
Who cares? Okay. This is a passing experiment. So he said, clearly that's okay. And my mom was very inclined. So
a lot of businessmen actually want their children to fail so that they can come into the business, right?
I don't think he was of that view. At least if he was, he didn't let me know. And it was a wonderful experience because for the first time, I was working with about 20 other actors and theatre people.
What was your role?
I was playing Rodrigo, the man who funds Iago's purse because he's madly in love with Desdemona. And is completely upset that Othello married her.
You remember your first line?
Oh, absolutely.
You do?
Absolutely. So it was, Tush, never tell me. I take it much unkindly that thou, Iago, who has had my purse as if the strings were thine, shouldst know of this. Those are my first lines on stage. Absolutely, don't forget those lines.
First date, huh?
Absolutely, you don't forget it. And it was performed literally right across the road at the American University in Dubai. My experience was with 20 other actors, people who were from the community, different nationalities. There were about 10 different nationalities, different age groups. I was 17, the oldest actor was about 65, 66. And we all worked as one team. There were no seniors, juniors, no sir, ma'am. I remember the first day calling somebody sir, and they came back and said, no, please, first name basis, everybody's equal here. And I found that quite liberating. And so I wanted to do more of it. So I joined university, which was also then at the American University in Dubai. And I started looking for theatre, and I couldn't find it. And I remember going back to my old director and saying, there's no theatre happening over here, what do I do? And he said, why don't you direct? And I went, but I'm not a director. And true to the question this morning, he went, why do you need a stamp? And I went, yeah, maybe I shouldn't I have a degree or something? And he went, did you learn something while you were here? Yeah, I did. I learned something during this play. He went, why didn't you apply it? Okay, he said, fine, if you get lost, I will help you along the way. And so with that in mind, I picked up a play which was Reginald Rose's 12 Angry Men.
How did you pick that up?
I actually went to him and said, what should I do? Okay. I'd like to say it was a profound series of reading things. No, it was very simple. I went to him and said, what should I do? And he went, look, there are 3 or 4 different great plays, and he showed me a few, and I went, which one do you recommend? He went, do this one, it's really good, it's easy to begin with, and you learn.
Okay.
I went, okay. And from there, I decided to cast. We got 12 amazing actors. Again, different nationalities, different parts of the world, all students at the university.
So he saw something in you to ask you to become a director.
Yeah, I think he did that, or he just didn't have any solution other than saying, do it yourself. I'd like to think it was the former. He saw something in me. But and that just didn't stop from there. So, from there on, I was doing about 2 to 3 full-length plays a year. Did that all the way till I graduated. And then I joined Shell. So went to work for them for a few years in London, then in Holland, and then I came back to Dubai. And at that point,
So when you were there, did you do theatre?
yes, I did. It's a bug. Once it bites you, it's not going away fast. So I was there in London only for about 6 months. So I wasn't able to do much, but I started watching a lot. So at that time, I went and pretty much spent all the money I had earned in theatre, going to West End shows and watching them. And then when I went to Holland, that was a longer stint. That was about 2.5 years. And so I joined the Anglo-American theatre group over there.
So you learn by doing and watching rather than by...
Absolutely. That's the best way to learn. You jump right in, get your hands dirty. You'll make mistakes along the way, but you do something.
Yeah.
Right? And people who do something will make a mistake. If you don't do something, you won't make a mistake. So better you make a mistake, you'll learn. And I made a lot of mistakes.
Which is the best one?
I used to be a bit of an iron hand director. I used to direct using authority and position rather than inspiring confidence. So all my initial few casts will tell you they were really, really scared of me, which I learned along the way is probably not the best way to inspire people to work. But you're in university and you're going, just do what I'm telling you to do.
Right? How do you say it now?
Now you get them to think it's their idea.
That's how it should be.
That's how it should be.
That's how it should be. I mean, even in work, even in everything, right? Not just theatre.
Yeah. I've learned it with kids. So I've got 2 wonderful daughters, and anytime you tell them to do something, they'll do the opposite.
Yeah.
And reverse psychology only works for so much time,
Yeah.
After that, they'll realize, hey, you're using reverse psychology only. So the best way is to get them to realize, hey, this is what you want to do.
Yeah.
This is in your best interest. But so I did that, came back to Dubai, and when I came back to Dubai, I tried to work with the one theatre group in the city that was there. By then, the director I had worked with had shut down his group, wanted doing theatre, he had taken a 10-year sabbatical. And I had no way of doing theatre, and I was dying from the inside. And so I went and met a particular theatre group here in the city, and I said, look, I've got this much of background, I've directed over 15 plays, and I'd like to direct. And they were lacking directors, so you'd think they'd open out their arms and go, come on board. And they went, so where are you from? So first came, where are you from? Went, from Dubai. I said, no, where are you really from? And then came all the other piercing questions which just embarrassed me, and I went, I've never been asked these questions before.
Where were they from?
From the more developed side of the world.
Okay.
And so I went, okay, so clearly, and I was told at that time more than once, we have work for you backstage. You can't come on stage, we got work for you backstage. And so I started talking to a few other people around the city and realized that this was the case with a lot of different people from a lot of different parts of the world. They were being told there's room for you backstage. So at some point we kind of scratched our head and went, okay, you know what? Maybe there is room for us backstage, and I think backstage can get on stage as well. So I remember sitting outside of DuckTac with a group of about 25 or 30 odd like-minded people, a couple of whom are in the room today. And we kind of went, okay, hey, we want to start up a theatre group where everybody gets an equal chance, where we're not casting because of we're not casting for color, we're not casting for background, we're not casting for experience, we're casting because this is how the city looks. Dubai is multicultural. I mean, look around the room here. So we want to be representative of the city because that's the way I've learned theatre. Theatre is multicultural. And so we formed our own group and named it Backstage.
Lovely.
And we said...
I was wondering why you didn't call the Junction the Backstage.
No, this was before Junction. So in 2009, we formed...
Backstage.
We called it Backstage, and we formed a group. And the group was welcoming of all the misfits. And soon we had so many different misfits joining us, people who weren't getting roles anywhere else. We started doing, so theatre in the city was happening about once a year or twice a year. Local Dubai produced theatre was happening. This was 2009, and that was a lot, right? That was a lot. People were going, oh my God, there are 2 plays happening a year which Dubai produces. Everything else was imported because Dubai believed that if you had a play coming in from Broadway or West End, it was superb. If you had a play coming in from India with Nasruddin Shah in it, that was great. But anything that was locally produced was probably poor in quality. And so that was not the case, right? I mean, each of these wonderful places, whether it be West End, Broadway, the theatres, setups in India, were able to develop because local people were creating theatre with local stories, using the actors from hometowns, right? And Dubai's hometown was so diverse. So we said, okay, we're going to put up our own stories. And so we started doing that. And we started doing about 10 plays a year, which nobody had heard of, because at that point people went, what, you're going to do 10? And we said, yeah, we'll do 10. So how are you going to fund it? Said, okay, the 20 people sitting around the table, we said, everybody put in 100 dirhams. So, okay. So we have 2,000 dirhams. That's the budget for the first play. Get it done in 2,000 dirhams. I don't care how we do it in 2,000. The money that came from there, we went, put it into the next play. And the plays were already coming like
what do you do with the 2,000? What can you do with 2,000?
a lot. A lot.
You got creative, yes.
We got creative. We went to...
what do you need 2,000 for? I mean,
so the biggest costs were the venue costs, as they are in theatre anywhere in the world. So we went to DuckTech and we said, look, come on, can you do us a solid and give us the space for free, or come on board as a partner? And at that time we had a favorable GM who went, okay, I'll support you for one project and come on board, and we won't charge you rent. We'll minus the rent from your gate sales. It's great. We had nothing to pay upfront. We put all the money into rights, into costumes, into set.
into rights.
The rights for the play, performance rights. The author gets performance rights.
How much does it cost?
It can go up to about $300 to $500 per show.
Where do you?
You gotta go and pay it on a website.
Okay. Okay.
And so it goes to the author. And we finally put up the play, and it was a roaring success. And we got money. We went and put it in the second play, which was coming up 2 months later. We put it in the third play, which is coming up a month after that. So it's literally like a factory coming out, but we had no budget to put them on. They were rehearsing, and then we went, okay, you're up. Whatever money you make or loss you make affects the next one. And we put up the first 10 like that. We signed on members. So we said, if you want to become a member to get discounted tickets, if you want to become a member to get special benefits, workshop accesses, 100 dirhams a year. So people signed up. We had 100 people sign up. That was 10,000 dirhams. That helped us put up more. Nobody was making a single penny of this because everybody had a day job. And we kept it clean. So we said, listen, the money has to be very cleanly seen. We had a treasurer who published all the records. We had a committee that sat together and decided what would happen. And the only rule was, if you say something, you get it done. Because it's community theatre. Nobody is reporting to anybody. Nobody has any financial reason to be here. So the only reason we are here is out of passion. So how far can your passion take you? So this went on for a while, and we kept doing, and the idea was every play we would take new people. So if Gautam acted in one play, he would not get cast in the next play easily. We would look for somebody new. And whoever was in the next play would not get casted in the next one very easily. So we told people, let's encourage new actors. We encourage new directors. So every director who's experienced like me would take 2 understudies who would act as assistant directors who would learn from us. And when they're done enough assistant director projects, they would become a director, and they'd get handheld through their first project. And that way we built a pool. We went out to, there were a lot of acting workshops. We went to their show, their final showcase that they put up in the acting workshops. And we started telling people, because they didn't know what to do after the acting workshop. It's over. You've learned what you had to from the acting workshop. And we went and told people, so if you want to do something and if you want to be part of a play, we're holding auditions, why don't you come? And people were more than willing to come. We used to hold auditions those days in Starbucks. There was a Starbucks on Sheikh Zayed Road, which became our home. And on the first floor, we used to go at about, if auditions started at 7:30, we used to go at 6 p.m. and block all the tables, buy one coffee and sit on the tables. And at some point, we started getting 70, 80 people coming to auditions a night. They would all wait in Starbucks upstairs. We'd block off a small area at the back where they'd come and do auditions in a public Starbucks. And that's how we started. So we broke all the norms of if you know how to do theatre, this is how you do it. You always auditions in this manner. Because we didn't know any better. The 10 people who were part of my committee, 9 others who were part of my committee, were all just as experienced and just as inexperienced as me. And so, tell us an idea and let's see what happens. And so we all started coming up with ideas, and that was the beauty. I loved the question at the start, because ignorance led to innovation.
Yeah.
They had no idea of how theatre is supposed to be done. We used to have people who'd come across and say, I've done 30 years of theatre and I think you should do this. We'd listen to them. But at the same time, we'd say, you know what, stay away. Because this is where the danger becomes in getting trapped in a cycle. And that's what was happening with that other particular group that I mentioned at the start. The danger was they were trapped in their own cycle, just doing the same thing again and again, and you needed certain credentials to become a director. If you didn't have it, you couldn't direct.
So these are all in 2009, 2010 you're speaking.
This
right?
became all the way from 2009 all the way to 2015.
And you still retain that freshness if you...
Oh, absolutely. The freshness came from new talent, new people. So the idea was, don't let anybody become a staple. You know, Gautam always works with an Arjun. You know, he is my lead actor in every play. Try to avoid that. We do fall into our little comfort zones, but we kept pushing directors to change. I know I sat on a lot of the casting decisions with directors, and every time they'd mention a name that was a standard name, I'd go, listen, come on. What about that new kid who had come? What about that new person? And that's how we started pushing new people out there. People who came in with, the one thing that I think I learned at that time from my team was that everything that I think is good theatre, every time I think that something is good theatre, does not mean it's good theatre for somebody else.
Yeah.
In fact, so for example, I'm not a fan of Greek tragedies, just not. But there are people out there who like it. So,
what are you a fan of?
I like a good murder mystery. So a good murder mystery, a thriller, is my idea of a good theatre, a night in the theatre. But that might not be appealing to most people.
Sherlock, right?
Like Sherlock, Agatha Christie is more up my... oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? Or a great comedy.
Yeah.
That's a Neil Simon. Now that's my idea of good theatre. But that's me. That might not be somebody else's idea of good theatre. So we started saying, okay, listen to other people. If somebody comes at our door, so somebody came a few years ago and said, I want to do a Greek tragedy, and it's about, it's a story of a lady who kills her children in vengeance for her husband. Wow, that's dark. That is really dark. And so I looked at, it was a dark story. It was Medea. And it was a tragedy of Medea, and oh my God, wow, that's really dark. So I looked at my partner Arjun, and I looked at him and I said, "What do you think?" And he said, "Not my cup of tea." I looked at him and said, "Not my cup of tea. Should we do it?" We both went, "Yes, we should do it," just because it is not our cup of tea. And you know what? People loved it. People really loved it. And so what I learned along that time is, let people have a passion, and if that passion flows through them, they'll enjoy it. So one of these nights we were sitting and having, around 2013, I was having dinner with a friend at home, and after the meal we were sitting and we were complaining about our regular venue, which was starting to up the rates on us. We had started at that time, they were charging...
Starbucks?
No, not Starbucks. It was Duck Tack at that point. Yeah. And when we started off, they were charging us at about 4. And by the time we were doing theatre in 2013, we were paying about 10 a night. And we went, this is craziness. We can never seem to save enough to do something. And we looked at each other and we said, wouldn't it be great if we had our own space? And said, yeah, that would be fantastic. And it was one of those conversations we laughed at. The next morning, I remember picking up the phone and saying, let's see, hypothetically, if we had to open our own space, what would it take? Well, we'd need 4 walls. Of course. We need seats for people to sit in. Of course. So over the next 4 to 6 months, what happened was, we met up on a Friday morning, and the group was flexible. It was about 4 or 5 or 6 people who had some experience in theatre in Dubai, just as inexperienced as me still. And we started going, so how much do you think seats would cost? How much do you think rent would cost? how much do you think this would cost? And one of those people is sitting right there, Arjun. So we started putting numbers together without knowing what was going to happen to those numbers. Just a fun project on a weekend. Really, there was no plan to build it. It was just a project of saying, how much did this cost? We went, you know what? Buying a space is too expensive. How about if we take a warehouse and convert it to a theater? Oh, that is an excellent idea. I was in China last week. And so, there were these conversations. I was in China last week, and in China we saw this wonderful warehouse that was converted to a theater. It's great. I was in the US, and we saw this old district where they were doing all this. It's like, that's fantastic. So we put all these numbers together, and then we went, now what? I said, okay, project over. Put it aside. Went to sleep. We say a couple of months later, we went, okay, let's hypothetically ask what rent is like.
Because Duck was only facility in town, right?
Only facility in town. And Medina Jumeirah, but it wasn't catering to the community. It was for large-scale productions. So hypothetically, let's go and find out what rent is like. So we started going to various warehouses and saying to people, we'd like to rent a warehouse. We had no money in our pocket. And we would like to build a space. How much will you give this to us at? And one of the spaces we went to was Al Sarkal Avenue at that point. And we spoke to a wonderful lady named Wilma. And we pitched our idea to her. And she took us to a couple of warehouses. It was the arts district of town. All the warehouses were converted to art galleries. Wow, what a concept.
An art gallery.
It was an art gallery district. And when we pitched the idea of a theater, her eyes kind of lit up. Community theater, eyes lit up a little more. I said, okay. So she showed us this wonderful, huge warehouse. That was fantastic. We looked at it, this is where this can go, this is where this can go. Great. And then she told us the rent, and we went, okay, great. And we went away. And this lady, unlike the other landlords, started pestering us. She kept calling me back and going, so what's happening with that project? And I used my usual excuse. Oh, I'm busy right now, I'm traveling. And then it became a month that she was pestering me for the project still. And then I went, okay, look, I'll level with you. It was all, we were just doing a project. We have no money. The real truth is this. We just came to see this space. We had no idea. And she went, oh. And she went, so money is the issue. And we went, yeah. She's like, okay, I can lower the rent. Because if you're doing a community project, then I can lower it. And I went, no matter how much you lower it, woman, we have no money. We have no money. And she said, okay, it's a shame. And she kept encouraging me. She said, Gautam, don't let up on the idea. Don't let it go. She said, we pitched it to Mr. Al Sarkal, and he really likes the idea, and don't let it go. I said, look, Wilma, if I find someone, okay, great. Chapter closed. 6 months later, I got a call from my friend Rashmi. And she goes, I heard you were building a theater. I went, look, all of this is rumors. I said, I'm not building anything. I'll level with you. It was just a project we put on paper, and then I visited a few spaces. I said, don't let all these rumors fly. I've got no money. And plus, remember my dad? Still around going, all this theater business. First, it started off as this project that his mom wanted to do. Now he's become serious in it. So my dad used to just concentrate on work, right? So at some point, Rashmi went, look, just come to my house. My husband and I are looking at building a theater in a villa. And I went, don't do that. Don't build it in a villa. I'll tell you why. And she said, come for dinner. So I went to a house for dinner. I took the project plans, and my good friend Arjun was with me, and we pitched the idea to him. He said, this is what it is. She came back and she said, okay, hey, great. We're willing to put money in it. I went, what? She said, I'll put money in it. And she said, I'll put this amount in it. We went, oh, okay. She said, would you put money in it? And I went, sure, I'll match that amount. Did not have a penny of it. So I'll match it. Arjun said, I'll put it in. But great. There's 3 of us now. The project makes sense on paper. We picked up the phone to Wilma. Wilma, you remember that 6 months ago project? We now have some money. We can start this. And again, 3 people who had no knowledge of, I don't think any of us had even built a house, let alone a theater. We had no clue where to begin. They gave us this 4,200 square foot empty warehouse.
And you had a full-time job at that point of time?
We still do.
So what does Arjun do right now?
I worked with Dell.
Dell. Okay.
Yep.
And you work with GE.
Yes.
All right.
So our wives went, we will run the space. So the two wonderful pregnant ladies sitting in the back went, we will help out. So we literally took all the men, the women, the children of the families, and we all sat around. So Rashmi's family, Arjun's family, mine. But okay, we got to build this, and we don't know how the hell to build it. We know how to perform on stage, but we've never built anything.
How did you meet Arjun for the first time?
We were in high school together.
Okay.
And incidentally, we did our first play together as well. So in high school, I was, I did one play in high school where I was not acting, I was the stage manager. And incidentally, Arjun was the main negative lead.
Okay.
As he is in my family, even right now, he's the main negative lead of my life.
Positive and negative attracts, right?
And I'm sure I'm his. And so that's how we started up. And so the equation was always there, and Rashmi was a close, very close friend as well. And so we started building, and we learned and made so many mistakes. I mean, small things, right? They told us, I'll give you one of the examples. They told us the voltage and the electricity. This is how much dB you have for the warehouse. And we went, yeah, should be enough. And we went to another friend of mine. So look, notice how it's working. We used all our resources, all our networks. Went to another friend of mine and said, this is how much power they're giving us. More than enough, right, for stage lights. And she went, are you mad? You need more than 3 times that power. Oops. Hey, Al Sarkar, we need to lay some new cable lines. We need more power than we expected. Because they're used to powering art galleries.
Yeah.
We have specialized stage lights. It's a little bit different. You know, we looked at the concrete floor and this should be great. We went to the warehouse. It was, you know, the warehouse. We started speaking and then suddenly echoing. How do we stop this echo? No idea. We went to our contractor and said, we need to build soundproofing. And he went, and we went to a lot of contractors. Everybody went, we never built a theater, never built a theater. Of course, there was only one other theater in Dubai. And we didn't have Majid Al Futtaim's budget. And so we went, we don't know how to build this. And you see, when you want something, I really believe this, when you want something with all your heart, the universe starts helping you. And so we reached out in the community and said, look, we're planning to build this, we don't know how to. And the head of theatre at the American School of Dubai, a gentleman we had interacted with a few times, Mr. Phil Ridley, came forward and said, I'll help you guys. 60-plus-year-old gentleman, a lot of experience in theatre. He said, I'll lend you my theatre technicians. Let them consult you. Let them tell you how to build a theatre. They were God sent. They came in and went, no, you're going to build it like this. No, you're going to do that. No, what are you guys thinking? And it was a learning experience. That 1+ year was full of heartbreaks, of highs and lows, extremes. We spent our entire time at the construction site. Every free time that we had from work or anywhere, we'd run to the construction site and go, what's going on? Hell, Arjun learned Hindi over the construction site.
How many months?
It took, we estimated it would, you know, in our naivety, we thought 3 months more than enough to open. It took a good 10 months, a little over 10 months to construct. And I still remember the first show.
If you were to build again, would it take so much?
I think so.
Still it would?
It would take time. If you're building it the right way, it would. And luckily, we built it the right way. We had our first director. We suddenly went, okay, so we're concentrating so much on build-up. Who's going to direct the first show? And we found this wonderful young man named George Anastasiadis, who said, I'll direct the first show. And he was flexible with us, so we kind of went, we can't tell you the opening night dates. It depends on construction. It could be next, we can tell you it'll be somewhere in November. One of the 4 weekends. We'd like to land on this particular weekend. We don't know. And so we went to, he said, look, as we got close, he said, now we need a date because we're going to sell tickets, we need dates. And we went, okay, lock this date. And we went to our contract and said, whatever you do, there must be a show on this date. And so we raced towards that date. And I still remember, we had people, opening night, we had people standing outside, all the audience members standing outside, while inside, we were still fitting the doors in. And so we said, we will open, I remember announcing, we will open doors when we have doors. Because that's exactly what was happening. They were installed. I said, if I need to open doors to the theater, you need to install it. And it was ready. They were going, Like, we'll open and we'll close it. I remember the actors were so cooperative because we told them, this is your little pool, you just act here for the moment. For the moment you rehearse here. Sorry, this is not the main show. You rehearse here, and while all around them, the construction was like bang, bang, tum, tum. And they, poor guys, they rehearsed in all of that noise. And when the show started, it was fantastic, right? This first show went smooth, and that's how the Junction was born. But long-winded answer to your question. But
what is the question?
I forget.
Yes, questions. You can ask anything. Yeah.
These 10 months where you had a family united together for the dream.
We still do. We call ourselves the Junction family.
No, but how could you still focus on life? I really would like to learn more about how did this family live 24 hours.
I think a
By
lot of
seven
credit
through
has to
this
go to our
experience.
spouses. They're the unsung heroes over here. Akansha, Jyoti, also Rashmi's husband name is Gautam. So Gautam, Rashmi's husband, and the family, the kids who are all there. They really, really supported us. I think they saw in our eyes the power, the passion, the dream that we had, and they really decided to stand up with us. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. We took a lot of time of their time away, but time they deserved. But in the end, we were able to create something that was there for the.
So even the kids were supporting the dream.
Oh, the kids are very much part of it. We had Rashmi's kids, become our first sellers at our concession stands. So they stood there and sold tea, coffee, water. My daughters, who were much younger, age 2 and 3 at that time, decided to stay out of the way, which is the biggest help they could give, and stay silent during a performance and not make any noise. So that
They
helped.
decided that?
They decided it. They said, look, this seems like a stressful time. Let's not trouble them anymore. But yeah, the families stood by and made it happen. We had everybody doing something or the other. Jyoti, Akansha helped with front of house and made things happen over there. Somebody contacted the press. Literally everybody assumed their roles. And a lot of the community came in and supported. So we can't just say the families alone. Members of the community stood up and said, this is a space being built for us, by us. We need to support it. And so we came in over there to help out the community, and the community responded in kind. And so being performers in the community who knew how things were running, we started functioning on a very different model than every other space, which is just come and rent us and do things. So we openly started telling people we function on 3 models, which we still tell people. Somebody wanted to come and rent the space. Great. There was a quoted rental, which was much, much lower than what was being offered in the city. I said, okay, that's there. Second, we started telling people, you don't have money, you want some help, we'll partner with you, right? And we won't tell people that we've given you that partnership, so that, it's about respect and holding your face in the community. We'll partner with you in the background. So we'll lower the rentals by as much as 0, and we'll say, you pay nothing, and we'll partner with you on this profit and loss. So if it goes into a loss, it's our loss. If it goes into a profit, we split it 50-50, whatever happens. And I know that when I was starting off in theater, we would have loved a deal like that. Somebody had said that to us. And many people came and took that deal. The third was we cater to individuals. So if individuals came to us and said, I have a passion for theater, I don't care about money, I don't want to think about money, this is the commercial side of theater does not need to bother me. We started saying, okay, pitch your idea to us. Write us up how do you see this play going up, what are you going to do? And if we like your idea, we'll fund it. We will take the full risk of profit and loss, and you get to do your project. And many people took that up. And so this flexibility in the community really allowed us to cement our space. Our closest competitor was one which had dates not available for the next 8 months. Like if you had gone and booked when we started off, and if you had said, I want to do a play tomorrow, they would say the earliest date I can give you is, today is August, the earliest we can give you is January or February. Started going and started saying things like, we can give you dates today, tomorrow, day after, you name it. and we started getting packed. And so our idea was just do more and more and more theatre. So do more of it. Yes, some of it may not be that great, but let the community and let the audience decide. Let the audience decide with the power of their ticket, that what's worth, what's not. And some of it will be great. And so we saw wonderful stories being born in Dubai. People writing full-length plays, coming up and performing. One of your previous guests on this show, Asad Raza Khan, wrote some fantastic stuff along with Manju, and they performed at the Junction. And so stories like these started coming up. We had a wonderful story in the play Mia Bivi Vaga by the group Goonj, who wrote the first Urdu play, full-length play in the city. And then it did so well that it started touring. A play born from Dubai went to Pakistan and went to India and performed there and came back. So we suddenly started seeing growth in this at the grassroots level coming up. Because this was the problem, right? I mean, in the city we look at things and we say, we have to be the biggest, the best. We build the biggest things, and that's important. Yes, absolutely. Having the Opera House, having Madina Jumeirah, even having Duck Tech is important in the city. These are spaces that bring us some quality productions. It's something we can aspire to. But till you don't have grassroots level stuff like what the Junction does,
So you
how are you
filled a
gonna
void
build
that is not there, right?
we filled in a void,
and
a
you
gap.
actually took your pain and made it your strength. Whatever you were suffering through,
Absolutely.
you knew there were others who were going through the same.
Absolutely. And the nature of Dubai is the population is transient. People come and go. There are very few like me or Arjun who have lived here for decades. Majority of the people come and go. But still, for the years that they're here, they can contribute to the arts and culture of the city. And so some of the proudest moments that we had as we started up were people coming up to us at the end of a show, audience members and performers coming up and saying, this feels like home. That really brings tears to our eyes. When somebody comes up and says, this feels like home, and the most satisfying feeling that we've had. Audience members coming and saying, wow, I did not know something like this was happening in the city, where the city is creating theatre.
Yeah.
Where something is happening. Because we're so used to big name, till it's not big name. The press won't give you coverage till it's not big name. And we got support from the press. Wonderful people at at Gulf News or Khaleej Times who wrote things, encouraged people to come. And that started developing. So everything went hand in hand. And of course, you can't forget the support of Al Sarkar Avenue. They really, really came all out with all their backing, all the power they had to help grassroots level community theatre grow.
But I think today in Al Circle Avenue, the Junction is the biggest pull over there, right? More than
I wouldn't say it's the biggest bill. I'd love to say that's true, but I would say there's a lot happening at Al Sarkar Avenue that pulls people in. It's for creative people, right? I mean, if you're a lover of arts, Al Sarkar is right for you. If you're a lover of performing arts, there's more than just the Junction.
How many days is your theatre booked usually?
If I was to give you a booking now, unfortunately, I'd say the earliest I can give you, Samir, is December.
Okay.
Christmas. We're not booked on Christmas. I know that for a fact.
Every day is booked?
Every day. Starting, this summer, when we start reopen, the theatre season opens in September. We're going to be every day.
Every day booked?
Every day. So there are classes happening.
Well, that's a big achievement, and especially now, Duck Tech is God sent.
Honestly, we had heard a lot for the years that we were performing, those who were in the performing arts community always knew that the space, if you look at it from, if I put myself in Al Futtaim's shoes, it made commercial sense to make that space retail. Do you know how much a mall retail space rental gives? And they've built a theatre over there, which is underutilized, has not been performing for 12 to 15 years. I'm sorry, while I might have emotional attachments, which I did, the day it closed, we all felt really bad. It wasn't going to work. So it just didn't make financial sense to work. And
because they made it very elitist? Was it the reason? If it was your model, would it have worked there? Because now you're fully booked.
I would say yes, but again, I don't know what the expectations of the head office were of income. Because right now also we don't work on targets. So Arjun's the finance head of the Junction. He doesn't set us targets saying, guys, we need this much of income per month. We need that much. He tells us, here's the cost the bare minimum cost of the space, our rental, our staff salaries, what does it take to keep the lights on? And as long as you manage that, we're okay. And hence why we're able to go out to people and say, we are going to do this because we believe in the community. It's not for today. Gautam and Arjun haven't quit their jobs to do this full time. And the reason is because we're not looking at the junction as a profit space. And the moment we start doing that, the entire model will collapse, because we'll stop doing partnerships. We'll stop sponsoring anybody who we don't know. It'll be pure rental and non-negotiation. But then we'll go back to what happened to us. And we will die very quickly as a space, because somebody else will come out and fill that void of helping the community. So the idea is that you support the community, and the community in turn will respond. Our long-term visions, all three of us, is to develop good theatre by UAE for UAE. That's the idea. Regardless of where you come from, regardless of what you look like, regardless of what language you speak. We've had performances in the junction which are in English, Arabic, Hindi, Urdu, Russian, Greek, Italian, French, Afrikaans, Swahili.
What is your proudest moment at the junction?
That's a tough one.
It is?
Because there are so many. I think it would be the first time an actor stepped on the stage and delivered their lines. I think that whole culmination of that 8 months of hard work. The play was The Vortex, and I still remember the actor was a gentleman who's still active in the community, Mr. Greg Lunn. And Greg stepped on stage and delivered the first lines. And I think that was the proudest moment for me. It was like becoming a father all over again. I still, my wife Akansha will always tell you that still whenever I feel stressed out, the first thing I will tell her in the evening is, let's take a drive, I want to go to the junction. I'll just drive up and I'll go and sit in the reception, or I'll go and sit in the audience and watch what's going on. And that to me is the proudest moment.
Do you buy tickets?
I don't. Unfortunately, I don't. I don't. If it's a full performance, I'd lie if I said I do. I don't. That's the little benefit I take out of it. Thankfully, nobody's turned around to me and said, "Where's your tickets?" Though I don't know. After seeing this, some people might. Because you let the secret out, Samir. You let the secret out. You told people.
Arjun.
Yeah.
Oh.
What are we not asking him that we should ask so that we can get to know better? Since you know him for a long time, you must be thinking, sitting over there, why is Samir not asking?
He's taking out his notebook full of.
Yeah, this is the moment of revenge. That's a good question. I would say. Sorry, you're gonna have to think about this for a second.
Take
your time. Make it worth it. What is it that you would do differently
if you had
could
to do
go
this
back
again? Oh wow!
and do it? And we've never actually discussed this.
No, we've never
actually had a conversation about it. But that's what.
Not including another partner.
Yeah, that's too late.
Here I was going to say maybe pick another partner, put a finance system in place. No, what would I do differently? I'd say there were technical things that I would do differently, and some of this I limit to Arjun now and then about, and he does the same to me and Rashmi as well. I'd put in seats a little differently. I'd build the space slightly differently, but in all honesty, except for small technical things, not a thing. I wouldn't change a thing.
About the junction.
About the junction, about my partners, about the people I work with, I wouldn't change the thing. I'd take the same journey with the same hardships all along the way, just to see it go the way it is. It's grown. I mean, now unless we figure out we did something wrong in the next coming few months.
Yeah. No, but I think where
it.
his question is coming from is, if I may rephrase it,
Please.
knowing what you know now from all the experiences that you have had, what would you have done differently? How could you have accelerated this process or this journey for yourself?
I would have probably taken the leap much earlier. I think we lost a couple of years waiting, and we have Rashmi to thank for coming and pushing Arjun and me and waking us up out of our slumber and saying, why aren't you guys doing something about it? But I think that first nosedive, that first jump that we had, where we said, let's do this project, I would have taken it a lot more seriously and just done it and just gone through with it. But everything has the right time and the right place, and so it came together in the right manner. But yeah, if I could, I would do it much earlier than what I did. That would be the big change that I would make. There's a gentleman who's been wanting to ask a question.
Yeah, I've got two questions. First thing is, how did the name Junction came up? And the second one is, if they're like filling the void and you have so much booked till December, so it's like the community is growing. So what do you think? Aren't you thinking of making
Junction 2? Great questions. Thanks for that. The name Junction, first off, came about because we sat down and we brainstormed names. So the whole family got involved. All the family members got involved, including kids. And we started thinking of names. I think we must have brainstormed some 2,500 names. I kid you not. We have papers full of names just written. Hardest decision. I mean, it was crazy. We were looking at names and names after names.
What were your other options, top 5?
We had thought of a few others. We looked at the. I remember Arjun, help me out over here. We thought the Lightbox Theatre. We thought of the Black Box.
The backstage?
The Black Box. The Box.
Backstage was not an option?
Backstage wasn't. The Hive. So it was really funny, but we started thinking of the Hive. At the same time, my very close friend Jimish was building his own space, completely unrelated. We didn't even know this. We started going, Hive. And then I called up my sister and she gave me some feedback, which she just killed the name for me. So I wasn't able to. And then we went to Jimmy and he said, I'm opening up a space called the Hive. I went, thank God this did not turn out into a fight. But Jimmy and I also, we started in the same play. Othello, Jimmy was his first play and it was mine as well. And so yeah, those were our top 5 names. So we came up and we said, okay, the Junction becomes a meeting point for people. And that's how we looked at it. It's a crossroad. It's a meeting point where people come and meet. And so the philosophy, the mindset, the core principle has always been people from different backgrounds coming together. And that's why the Junction. We've, again, like I said, we never looked at people from where they were coming and what age they were. We've got a director right now who's 21, 22 years old, directing people who are late into their 60s. The idea was, if you got passion for it, you can do it. Who says age is a bar? Who says you can't direct? Who says any of these things? Again, very poignant opening question, but went to that. The second, remind me what the question was, the second one?
What next for Junction?
What's next? So Junction 2, we've been thinking about it, honestly. We had very strong, very positive, very detailed discussions about it. We'll wait and watch one more. We'll wait and watch because the idea is that we'd like to consolidate.
Maybe one in Abu Dhabi?
Maybe. The idea was to consolidate what's here first. Before we spread out. The idea was never to make this a franchisee or a business or extend out. The idea was, let's do this well. And the reason we figured out it does well is because of the personalized touch. Anytime, you'll always find one of the owners over there. You'll always find, you can directly talk to people. You can directly suggest an idea. And if we start spreading ourselves too thin, I don't know if that will happen anymore. So we've been thinking about it. There are some great reasons why yes, and there are some great reasons why not. It's still up in the air. But yeah, we are getting more than what we can handle. So we're facing a good problem now where we are turning around and saying, hey, yeah, that project yes, this project no. Which might not have been the case in year 1. In year 1, I kid you not, when we started off, we knew what we're doing this month, and we knew what we're doing next month. We had no idea what we're doing in month 3 in terms of shows. And so you can imagine from a finance point of view what conversations were being had. They're like, okay, so show 1, show 2, show 3. That's 3 weekends. It was not even 2 months, but 3 weekends over 2 months. What about the rest of it? It'll come. It's like that. It's like the old movie. If you build it, they will come. That was the philosophy we went with. If you build it, people will come. So yeah, Field of Dreams. That was the movie.
So if you find somebody who in other cities believe in the concept of community, that's what you need. No?
That's what you need.
If
You
build
need a community that
building communities.
you need a community that's willing to
Yeah.
grow, that's willing to invest in its own people, is willing to give. Because think about it, a majority of Junction depends on the community, and the community really means in this case, people who have a day job who are doing this out of passion. And if one link in that entire chain breaks, somebody gets up on the day of the show, the week before the show, and says, "Oops, don't feel like it. I don't like you anymore. I'm not going to do this." Your entire model will collapse.
I'm just having a thought. If you put out into the air, into the universe, saying that I'm ready to mentor anyone who wants to start in another city.
We would be. We'd love to.
You don't have to
Absolutely.
start, if there's somebody else who is ready to put in the money,
If
start
that
the community,
passion is there, why not?
Yeah. That's all
But
that is required.
that unrelenting
because
passion. has
you're
to be
not
there.
doing it for the money at all. So
No, we're not.
So if somebody else wants to do it,
Why not?
just reach out.
We're more than happy. Reach out. Let us know. With that way, one of the things that I love about my partners as well is that they've never been stingy, selfish with information. And if you talk to people who worked at the Junction with us, other directors, groups, theatre groups, one of the things that they can say a lot of things about us, one of the things they will never say is that these people don't share information. We will share. Like, we have contacts, take it. You know something, you want to know something, we'll teach you. You want to figure out how to run this? Here. Learn from our mistakes. That's the thing that we always say. Don't run a theatre group the way we ran it. You don't have to take that many years to learn it. Learn it. And so one of the things that we've been doing is encouraging people to start up their own theatre groups, do things their own way, but just do what you believe in. So I have had a lot of those conversations over the last 3-4 years where people come up and they go, I'm thinking about doing XYZ in my passion area. And I go, do it, because it's now or never, right? I mean, you don't want to reach the end of your life and look at a passion and say, why didn't I do that? And so follow your passion. And sometimes you may make a mistake.
And get
But my
innovative.
bet is
Yeah.
you won't. If you're passionate enough, you won't.
Yeah. And I love the part that where you said, you don't have money, you will be innovative. You'll find ways.
You'll find ways.
You'll find
We'll
ways.
come up with ways.
Yeah.
You'll come up with it. I mean, we've run an entire theatre group with 100 dirhams from 10 people, 20 people. I can't think of other ways of running it. You use your network. That's why you get creative, in fact, because the first way where you have everything, anybody, if somebody gives me 3-4 million dirhams and says, go start up a space like the Junction, I can build something within a year, easy. The challenge comes when you don't have that money, you don't have that resource. How are you going to do it? That's why you get creative. That's where the creativity comes out. You go to people and you say, hey, I need your support. Samir, who do you know who can help me with this? And people come. You'll have people who'll come, who'll support. You'll find unsung heroes in the most weirdest of places.
Well, if you give us some examples of
Places where you can find them?
So Wilma would be my first one. Wilma, I always mess up her last name, but Jurkut. Wilma would be my first unsung hero. Because we went to her for a rental tour. And she did not let us rest on our passion. She called me up day in, day out. Even when I told her point blank, I don't have the money, I'm not going to rent from you. She still called up. And that's somebody who could see something. And she's a young lady. She's 32, 33 years old. She's the director of Al Sarkal Avenue, real inspiration. She came about from nowhere and really pushed us. The other unsung heroes who came up, we had Ankita Rao, a close friend of mine, who'd come up and who helped us design the entire interiors of the Junction, who came out and said, look guys, I know you two from high school, and I'm an architect by design. I'll design it for you. No penny charged. Go ahead. We had such people come along the way who, we had our foreman who was working on the construction site, who understood the passion that we were going in with and advised us things like, don't invest in XYZ. My boss is telling you it's probably expensive. Do this. This is the right thing for you.
Wow.
we had people who looked at us and went, these guys don't seem like they're building a space to earn a buck. And they just came up and helped. That really touched us quite a lot.
Super.
Arjun, any names I'm missing?
You mentioned Phil Ridley, of course,
Yeah.
who was a big inspiration. People who even bought seats, so we kind of, some people even helped fund
Become
part of it.
patrons.
They became patrons of the junction, and they helped fund part of it as well.
They took a name on the seat and they put money in. We had randomly, I still remember this one particular lady who came into the junction one evening, looked at the space, came for an evening of performances, came up and said, first time coming to theatre in Dubai. I went, I want to take a seat in there. And she went, what are the prices? And so we told her the slab rates. She went, I'll take a seat for 3,000 dirhams, put my name on it, and I'll support the community. She said, you guys sure you guys support the community? We went, yes. She went, here's 3,000, keep supporting. Wow, what just happened? Somebody just walked through the door and went, here's money, keep supporting the community. That was fantastic. Corporate sponsors who came in from time to time to put up a banner, but they never came in to to brand themselves only. They genuinely came in with affection to grow the community. Comedy, we've been talking theatre so much, but comedy grew. A host of comedians who came to the junction, we started off with professional comedians, but they came and mentored younger, up-and-coming Dubai-based comedians. Amit Tandon, Atul Khatri, all came in from outside. Jiveshu, who came and looked at some of these younger upcoming comedians and took the time, no cost, sat them down, spent hours with younger comedians and went, here's how you develop your skill. And so that is stuff that can't be bought. I mean, it's passion. It's pure passion. Lady wants to say something.
You want to share something?
Yeah. Actually, I have been to your theater. I'm only new to Dubai. I didn't know such place exists. And one day, one of my friends gave me a ticket and said, I have a play tonight. Come to this address. And I went. I really want to say, but not because you are here today. And when I went the first time, I thought, wow, this is great for these people who have their dream and chasing their dreams. So I want to say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
When you talked about that hunting for rental, with I was reminded of Richard Branson. He just went looking for the Necker Island. He just because he knew that if he had to go visit an island, they would have a helicopter ride, and he just wanted to take his wife for a helicopter ride.
And see, things come out out of these things. So
sometimes, It's been a wonderful session. Thank you so much. You're coming to the end of the first segment.
Thank you.
We have a small tradition over here where you pick a card and you reflect on what it says. But before you do that, you can pick a card and reflect on it. What I'd encourage you to do is reflect for us what it is that is your takeaway. What is it that you will apply, change, or teach from what you just heard today evening? Yes, who wants to go? Yeah.
I want first, before I said what I learned, I want Samir to answer this question honestly. Honestly, Samir.
I never say things honestly.
Did you knew the story of your guest before you choose that question of the
Which
day?
question?
The question of the day.
The question that you chose today.
No.
Because it's identical. It's so matched to the guest story, as if you guys have planned this for weeks.
No, it was.
He asked the question.
He is someone who started a journey without any expertise whatsoever, no resources, and then he had to capitalize on his ignorance as his capital of investment.
Yeah.
So what I learned today is to master any art or any field, just do more of it.
Jump right in.
Yeah.
Just do more of it. Amazing. What I take home today is do more of it.
Yes.
I won't do it. It's not insured.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have learned from you that giving unconditionally, you will receive what goes around comes around. And when you believe you have this passion, you don't have to have the expertise or the degree, or you just start and you will find you attracting people to help you. When you start your passion, you attract more people. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.
No wonder you always talk about the junction so much. It's got such beautiful inspiration behind it. So yeah, thank you for your story. For me, it's the perfect scenario that you don't need a perfect plan. You just need the passion and then the guts to do it. And you are so blessed to have a beautiful support system.
Yeah.
And now, please let me know when the next show is, because I want to go as well.
It's happening tonight. I've actually just, I've not attended the show. I'm going to go for it tomorrow.
Okay.
But
how
we'll
can we
keep you
find
posted.
out more about where you're...
So follow us on social media. You can search for The Junction Dubai on Facebook, and that's where we post all the shows that are coming up for everybody.
Awesome.
And the website, junctiondubai.com.
Yeah, you got my support.
Thank you.
Let's go. Anyone? All right. No learnings? Chandan? All right.
That's it.
All right.
So I had the 6 of diamonds, which is fantastic because I like the number 6. It's 96 as well. And it says, you cannot fry an egg by staring at it. And
That's so dramatic. That is so...
and it's very true. And that is, I think, probably one of my key takeaways. If you look at the journey of the junction, we tell people, don't think about it, just dive right in, right? Jump right in and do it. You'll make mistakes, absolutely. But if you sit there to make your plan perfect, you'll probably do it right. I'm not saying you won't do it right, but at some point, egg.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't eat an egg, but I never fried an egg either. But I'm sure you can't fry it without by just staring at it.
Yeah. I don't know if I completed the story about the frame. Did I? Did I say why it is empty? I don't think I said why it is empty.
No.
I didn't say it, right?
No, you didn't say it.
Last week I said it. The frame is a symbolic representation that start your journey. You don't have to have everything in place. That's the reason.